Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Watching the Boxes Fantasy Basketball Podcast, hosted by #basketball.com, your home for the very best fantasy basketball tools on the entire internet. They have fantastic trade analyzers, player rankings, and the best schedule, the weekly schedule out there on any site. #basketball.com. It will 100% help you be a better fantasy basketball player. Your money back guaranteed because it is free. Check them out as soon as possible, but also we want to thank them for hosting the show. And I'm your host, Mike Catron, and joining me as always is my co-host, Tyler Watts. What's up, Tyler?
How much did you cry today, Michael?
I didn't. I have been drinking a little bit in celebration this evening.
Oh, yeah, right. Your favorite coach got fired.
Listen, there was nothing favorite or and barely anything coach about Fred Hoiberg. I will say very strange for him to get fired on Monday, December 3rd. Not really sure. I understand the timing. Not really sure I understand really anything other than like my only thought is like once everybody's healthy on the Bulls, they'll look a little bit better and it'll seem like a good decision. So it'll save Gar Forman's job. Like that's the only thing I can think of because Fred Hoiberg, while a very bad coach, was, slightly improving and the team is supposed to be bad. Like they're supposed to not be winning hardly any games and tanking and getting a good draft pick. So I'm not really sure what they were expecting. So I haven't really heard anything other than the normal corporate speak out of the front office here in Chicago. Gar Forman was not available for comments, so that's a little suspicious today. But I'm celebrating. I'm having myself a few drinks.
Yeah, I mean, Fred Hoiberg just not a great coach, so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out in Chicago, and obviously they're going to go in the interim route, and
I don't.
Dude, Tibbs is going to get fired, and it's going to be a reunion at the end.
Too big of a. I don't think there's anything that is going to drastically change. How about that? Other than maybe the passion that the players or the effort that they might put in. Fred Hoiberg, not the most aggressive coach. In fact, had a medical history that prevented him from being too aggressive while yelling at the refs or yelling at his players. And Jim Boylan, not the Jim Boylan who took over the coaching job from Scott Skiles, for not the same Jim Boylan, different Jim Boylan. If everybody remembers, this is a while ago. Some of you younger listeners might not remember, but the Bulls front office, by the way, the exact same front office over a decade ago fired Scott Skiles on Christmas Eve. So at least Hoiberg did not get fired on Christmas Eve. He's got that going for him, along with about $25 million. So that's a good going away present.
Will they win another game? So they've won one game since November 11th. Will they win another game by December 11th so they can have 2 wins in a month? I'll take that as a no. Can you hear me? I cannot hear you. Can you hear me?
I lost audio. All right. Did you hear any of my Jim Boylan rant?
Yeah, and then I asked you if they could win another game by December 11th so they could have 2 wins this month.
All right. Ask me again.
So the Bulls have won 1 game since November 11th.
It's a godsend, Tyler. Thank the Lord
Well, the schedule's not looking great, but they could get a second win. I mean, they play the Pacers, they play the Kings, they play the Thunder, they play the Celtics before December 11th.
Surprisingly, I would say the most likely win is the Celtics.
Boston not looking good. Although Boston absolutely destroyed them on November 14th.
All the more reason to get hyped up for the game. It's always one of those. Those are the games the Bulls seem to win when they're bad. It's just like, oh yeah, this team's coming to town and they're looking past the Bulls, and for some reason the Bulls show up and they shoot like 52% from behind the arc for no reason, and then they end up winning. That's what happens.
Not having an NBA point guard, not a good decision for a team.
Turns out, well, actually, we are doing our waiver wire podcast, and one of the guys who has been, I actually added in more, surprisingly more leagues than I thought would be, is oh my god, I can't say his name. Ryan Arcidiacono. There it is. Got it. Ryan Arcidiacono, my starting point guard. I refused to learn how to say his name. Apparently I did, just out of osmosis of watching the games. Tyler, how long are you holding on to Arcidiacono? Is this just simply a Chris Dunn replacement? But is he worth owning?
No. I mean, he's worth streaming. Sure, he had 2 games in a row where he scored 22 points in each, with 7 steals, 6 assists, and 9 rebounds. Listen, even when he gets the minutes, though, like, what is he really giving you? He's giving you 3 assists and a couple rebounds and 10 points. Like, this is not a guy you really want on your team, which is not something normal, right? We usually say if there's a starting point guard out there, you probably want to own him. Ryan Arcidiacono breaks that mold.
Yeah, I will give him some credit for as bad as he should be. He actually is a whole, not the worst replacement third string point guard in the league. He makes some smart plays every once in a while, and he just lacks really the talent or the athleticism to stay up with a lot of people. But for, like I said, for as bad as he should be, he's pretty good. I guess he's the backup point guard at this point because Cam Payne. Has anyone seen Cam Payne? I mean, I haven't seen him in a while. I'm not even sure he's allowed to come into the United Center anymore.
I think he's just campaigning somewhere.
He needs to run for office because that is the only way anyone will support him. That's right. That is where we're going. We're just shitting on Cam Payne this evening. But yeah, I'm with you. Arcidiacono is like, stream him at best. Like, I don't think there's definitely better waiver wire players out there, and a lot of you have been picking up a handful of players. Some of these players we've talked about in the previous episode, but like your Kevin Knoxes, which we're not too strong, and I think tonight's 8 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, which is not the worst line in the world, shows that Kevin Knox, even though he might come back and play 28, 29 minutes a game, his fantasy game isn't like standard league, like basically bottom of the standard league relevant. So we weren't recommending Kevin Knox in our last episode. I would say the Knicks front office, like you were saying, Tyler, has no idea what they're doing. Would you say the Knicks front office is worse than the Bulls front office?
Yes.
Wow, that was not a strong vote of confidence.
Well, I mean, at least the Bulls have, I mean, you mentioned this, like the Bulls have been drafted all right, but I mean, is Fizdale a worse coach than Hoiberg? Maybe at this point.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, actually, probably.
And I mean, just Fizdale, he just can't figure it out. Like, what do you say? Like, by this point, you ought to know who's good and who can play. And you can say it's a matchups thing or whatever, but you play similar teams and you don't play the same lineup. So is it really a matchups thing?
It can't be. It just doesn't make any sense. The Knicks are really ruining a good portion. I mean, there's some talent on that team, and it would just be nice to see someone like Enes Kanter just play 32 minutes, 33 minutes a night. There's really no reason why he isn't.
Well, I mean, and he's a flawed player. Like, I
Sure.
get it.
But the team's bad. So what?
I just don't understand, though. Like, if you're going to try to tank and rebuild, like, play Mitchell Robinson until he fouls out every night. Like, who cares?
Yeah. I mean, Moutier played another 36 minutes this evening, had a very good stat line. But, you know, we've said this off and on this season about Emmanuel Moutier. We're just not sure the consistency is going to stay there. No, I don't want to trust that guy. Like, I don't trust that guy. And more importantly, like we're saying right now, we just do not trust Fizdale or the New York Knicks.
Well, and I mean, he played Hazonia 20 minutes, and he started him tonight. Like, he doesn't always make the best decisions. I mean, they pulled Damian Dotson off the scrap heap, and they've been playing him like 24 minutes. Then it goes up to 30 minutes. Then it goes to 12 minutes. Then it's down to, 5 minutes. Then it's up to 30 minutes again. Like, he just can't decide. And
yeah, and let's talk about Damian Dotson, because he is actually one of the number one picked up guys in Yahoo leagues right now. A huge percentage bump for him, simply because over the last 4 games, like we're saying, the Knicks decided to play Damian Dotson. Like, who would like if you would have asked us a question about Damian Dotson 2 weeks ago, we would have Tyler would have been very polite, and I would have told you to go screw yourself, because he is completely irrelevant, and now he's been relevant for 4 games.
Well, so, he had that stretch of like almost 10 games there where he was pretty fantasy relevant. I mean, it ended with that game against the Bulls where he played 41 minutes, but there was a stretch of games there where it was 22, 32, 34, 30, 28, 32, 36, 31, 41 minutes. Like, he was relevant, and then all of a sudden, like, the minutes went away, and he was playing 18 a night, and then he was out of the rotation for a while, and now he's back in playing 25 to 30 minutes. Like, no, Fizdale just can't decide.
No, I guess, like, Trey Burke's hurt, but like, has Trey Burke been a freaking presence on this team either? Like, none of this makes any sense, and I just don't think we can. I don't think we're going to be saying the exact same thing in January and February and March. We can't figure out the Knicks, and I don't think we're ever going to. So let's just try to avoid saying the same thing we always say about the Knicks, is that ride the hot hand and then drop these guys when they're not, and just that's what you're going to have to. That's what you're going to have to do moving forward. Like, sorry, there's just really no intel to figure out what's going on there, and even the best of the best fantasy players aren't going to be able to do it. Probably even the guys on the damn team can't figure out what the hell's going on with the rotation.
Well, and this is maybe we're saying too, like, even if you're telling me every player they have gets 30 minutes, okay, who do you really, really want in a standard league? Like, Tim Hardaway is going to score, but he's not really going to do a lot else.
Yeah, obviously, and he's been the only consistent guy. Enes Kanter is number 1, I would say.
That's what I mean. He's going to get you the points and rebounds. Noah Vonleh is kind of a one-category guy in 30 minutes. Like, he's going to get you a buttload of rebounds and maybe a block a game, but that's it.
Yeah, he's not like a perennial all-star.
Hazonia would probably be standard league relevant in 30 minutes, but he's not going to get 30 minutes, I don't think, so we can cross that one off. Moutier still can't shoot.
Yeah, actually, Damian Dotson might be 4th. That's how it's saying that is.
Yeah, and I mean, they got some other guys, down there. Mitchell Robinson, if he could actually not foul out in 30 minutes, the blocks have the potential to be pretty elite. But he's not rebounding, so he's not really doing much else. I mean, tonight, 14 minutes, 1 rebound, 2 assists, 3 blocks. So he's pretty much a blocks-only guy. Like, all their guys seem to be pretty much one-category guys. So, I mean, is that really helping you that much? Probably not.
No, I don't think it is. Another guy who just got picked up by a bunch of people, and this makes perfect sense. Another guy we talked about in the previous episode, Josh Jackson on the Phoenix Suns, replacing Devin Booker pretty much is his touches, his minutes. Josh Jackson is going to play pretty much starters minutes with Booker out, and will just shoot a lot more. He's going to shoot a bad percentage, but Josh Jackson able to produce somewhat. But also a lot of people picking up Richaun Holmes, who had a very decent game in limited minutes. Are you interested in Richaun Holmes as like kind of a into the bench keep on your team type of guy, or is this simply just a let's stream a guy who in the past when he does play extended minutes has been a pretty decent points, rebounds, fantasy, and blocks, obviously, fantasy relevant player?
I don't really get this one in the sense that you want to guess what his season high in minutes is, Mike?
I'm gonna go on the limb and say he played like 28 one time.
He played 23 against the Lakers, and the Suns lost by 24 points.
Yay!
And
that's not good.
He is consistently right around the 16, 17-minute range the entire month of November, and he was in the 5-minute range in the month of October. So you could say, oh, well, it looks like he's playing more. I don't really think he is. I think he's basically exclusively playing backup center to DeAndre Ayton. And then if you look at a lot of the game logs, I think if you add the minutes up, it pretty much makes 48 minutes between Holmes and Ayton. So like you mentioned, he's an interesting guy, and he actually hasn't been shooting threes this year. When he played for Philly, he would always shoot threes. And it was kind of an interesting, like, can get you a steal, can get you a block, and can shoot a three big man. We really haven't seen the threes. He has not taken a three-point attempt all season. The steals and blocks have been tasty, but this is another guy, too, that I think if the minutes go up, the steals and block numbers go down. So, I mean, obviously per minute. So if you really, really need steals and blocks, sure, you can pick this guy up, but it's a very big gamble because you're probably going to get like 18 minutes a night.
Yeah. And he's probably, I mean, he does give you a block in that period of time, so that's a great stream. But like you're saying, this isn't a bump in minutes. I think people are just seeing the double-digit scores and going, oh, this guy's playing really well. And he is playing fairly well right now, but not to me, a long-term keep on my team standard league type of player. I think, the minutes are going to come and go, and the minutes are coming right now, and that's cool. So just ride that hot hand. But similar to, I mean, at least we kind of know what's going on in Phoenix. With ride the hot hand with the Knicks, ride the hot hand with the Suns, but none of these guys are going to feel like breakout candidates by any means. Like just really none of these mid bench coming off the bench, maybe good to start guys just feel like they're ever going to break out. Like Josh Jackson, sadly, I just don't think he has it either. So Suns, Knicks, I'm kind of out on all those guys.
Even the Suns don't really think he has it. I mean, he was out of the rotation there for a hot minute until Devin Booker got hurt. So, yeah, there's that.
You know who does have it, though? Throw back the clock. Dwayne Wade, after sitting out for like a half a month, surprisingly refreshed with dropping 35 against Toronto, playing pretty much 28, 29 minutes a game and doing like old school D Wade stuff. Worth owning in a standard league? I actually would say yes if he's going to play 28 minutes a game.
Yeah, and we've seen this for how many years with Dwayne Wade. Like, he's not playing as many minutes as he once was, but he can still score, and he can still put up a fairly fantasy-relevant line when he's playing. So, yeah, I'm not having any issues owning Dwayne Wade. I'm worried that the minutes kind of creep back down, but, I mean, he really hasn't been that bad all season.
No, and, like, he even kind of like in that mid 20-minute range, he, like, gives you borderline standard league value. And it is worth a good amount of points. And then on top of that, he like every once in a while he'll drop 35 and have like 8 assists. So it's kind of worth taking the risk on him.
He gets frustrating to own though, in the sense that, and we always see this, like once he gets his legs under and he plays a while, like they'll rest him random games and just be frustrating to own. But I mean, if you're just kind of streaming him when you need him and maybe cutting him when you don't, that may be the best option with Dwayne Wade.
Yeah, I think so. Surprisingly, even at this age, he is standard league relevant. And if you are looking for points, he's probably a guy you want to pick up and have on your team. I know a lot of people, looks like they have done just that. Another guy people are picking up right now over the just basically over the performance in the last 4 games for the New Orleans Pelicans. Tim Frazier, basically playing in place of Elfrid Payton, has been averaging like almost like 9 assists a game, and that's all he's doing. I guess he's getting you a decent amount of rebounds for a guard, so he's got that going for him. But this feels like a must stream if you need those. I mean, assists are very rare. It's hard to find. Like every year, the amount of guys who get good assist numbers, like consistent good +8 assists, that number goes down every single year. And just to have some guy on the waiver wire sitting there getting 6, 7, 8 assists, let alone he had 12 against Washington. And if that's all he is going to do in this New Orleans offense, that's I actually think is a must pick up, and you got to ride him while Elfrid Payton's out.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. He's not going to help you really much of anywhere else, but if you need assists, sure.
Well, I think that's the thing. Super. I don't know one player. I don't know one fantasy player out there who doesn't need assists. There might be one guy, or maybe two owners in each league who don't need assists. Everyone else needs assists. No one's getting good assists. The assists are really hard to come by. I would say almost anyone who is playing needs assists on their team, and it's going to be hard to find that kind of assist production anywhere else.
Okay, so Elfrid Payton is out until January from everything I've read.
Yep.
So you can have one of these two players. You can have Tim Frazier or you can have JJ Barea.
Ooh. That's a good question. That's a good one. You would do JJ Barea. I'm actually gonna go Tim Frazier, because while JJ Barea is doing a lot more, actually trying to score the ball, I think you're going to see more assists on a night in, night out basis from Frazier, and probably a little bit more rebounds, and everything else is going to be relatively the same.
Well, and so it's weird in the sense that somehow Tim Frazier is like this system player in the sense that he can only do anything for the Pelicans. Like he goes on a different team and never plays, and then like he plays for the Pelicans, and we've seen a stretch of 16 games where he played 29 minutes a game and he averaged 7 assists. We've seen a stretch where for a 65 game, basically a whole season, he played 23.5 minutes a game, got 5.2 assists. Here's what I'll say. I think he'll probably be closer to 5 than to 7.5 assists, just in the sense that, I mean, I think that 7.5 assists was some very lucky play by Frazier that was boosting his minutes. I just don't think he's that good of a player. So to me, if you want one of those two players, like give me JJ Barea, at least he's definitely going to get the minutes. And he's consistently averaged like 6 assists for the last year plus. So
yeah, that would be the I think the only turn in my evaluation is that if you could guarantee me the minutes, would be the exact same for both of them, then I'm actually going to go Frazier. But with that minutes difference, Barea becomes a more consistently valuable player. I'm still going to take my pick Frazier, simply because I think he's going to have a lot more of these like 8, 9, 10 assist games over the next 2 to 3 weeks. And then once Elfrid Payton comes back, he'll be completely worthless, and you can just drop him. So I think I'd rather have that one stat at almost like a borderline elite level, if not elite level at this point, with the way assists have changed over the last few years, than JJ Barea, who's like he's good. Who else is out here who is getting picked up? For some reason, people are picking up Kyle Korver. We did talk about Kyle Korver in the last episode. Not terribly excited about him being on the Utah Jazz. If he wasn't relevant in Cleveland, I'm not sure why he'd be more relevant. playing less minutes for a team that's actually like a team that's supposed to be good. And like we all know that the Utah is not in playoff contention right now, but well, they're in contention because that entire West is a bloodbath. But the Utah Jazz are good. They're going to be good. So I would avoid Kyle Korver. I guess stream him if you want some threes, but I would actually hesitate even streaming him. I think there's better streamer players out there.
Yeah, and I mean a lot of that depends on the night, in the sense that you could get the slate where he's probably the best 3-point streamer available in your league, but there's obviously, if most of the teams are playing, he's not even near the top of the list. But I mean, there's certain teams where you're just like, or I mean, we talk about this all the time, right? There's some teams where like they just don't play the bench at all, and so their streaming options are bad, and you're just like, okay, well, give me Kyle Korver. At least he might hit a couple threes.
Yeah, like I'll get 2 to 3 threes, and that's good enough for me. Like one game, I needed the guy. No one was starting on my team. I had a slot to pick up someone who could hit some threes, and I was guaranteed to get it. So it's like only in that situation is he valuable, because he is very consistent in at least because he's all he's going to do is shoot threes. So he's probably going to make it 1 or 2 at the very least. Al-Farouq Aminu, your boy, tearing everybody up out there, dropping 2 20-point nights in a row. That is impressive. Al-Farouq Aminu, highly underrated. We always say that, but we haven't really. I don't think we've considered. Maybe you've considered him, Tyler, as a standard league ownable player, but I still think he's borderline. Sometimes you have to. Sometimes it's hard owning him, but right now he's killing it. Would you consider Al-Farouq Aminu someone like if it seems like he's going to get the kind of more of the minutes here in Portland, that he going to be basically standard league relevant for the rest of the season?
So Aminu is what Aminu is. Aminu's been this same player for the last 3 seasons in Portland. And this is the 4th year in a row. Like, he's going to get you 9 points a game. Cool. I mean, it's 9 points. It's what it is. But he's really going to make his hay in getting you a steal, getting you 0.6 to 0.7 blocks, and getting you somewhere in the 7.5 to 8 rebounds a game range.
Yeah. I think that's what's really wild about him is like 9 points and 8 rebounds and a steal and a little over a 3. Like, you throw all that in a hat and he's a top 100 player. And it's like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. You start looking at his like stat lines and you're like, no, this guy's not a top 100 player. But per game for the season, he is 85th in 9-cat roto leagues. So, he is actually above standard league relevant. I don't think he is. Like, I just can't own him in a roto league. I can't own him, and that's why I don't consider him there. But like all those people in head-to-head leagues who got him on the waivers, like sitting out there, I'm actually surprised he's not picked up in more leagues in more head-to-head leagues.
Well, and this is why guys who, like, when you look at 9-cat values, turnovers skew it a lot.
Oh,
when you look at a guy that's getting you less than a turnover a game, like Aminu, like that boosts his value way up. But is he really helping you that much? Like, no, he's not helping you as like the 85th best player. But at the same time, he is helping you in categories. And Aminu is one of those guys in a lot of my leagues where I stream him a ton. Just helps me in the rebounds, gets me a steal, helps me a little bit in blocks. And I think that's kind of how you win the league in some of those leagues. So, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely rostering Aminu when he's playing. I don't know that I'm rostering when he's not.
Yeah, and that's a tough guy to keep. That's a tough guy to like have at the end of your bench, and you're like, like he's not having a good week. That sucks. And maybe you got your 4 steals, your 5 steals. That's cool for a 4-game week, but you also got just like four threes and like 18 points, and you're like, and he shot like 15% in one game and 40% in the next game, and
there's zero upside too, like none.
He's not going to get better. These 2 20-point games are super flukes. And you know what? Respect to him for putting it together. But occasionally he does have one of these kind of crazy games, which is why he's probably a little bit more interesting in owning in like a bigger league than your Kyle Korvers, your other guys who are just kind of trash. Like at least Al-Farouq Aminu gives you those counting stats, and then every once in a while puts a 20-point game together, and that might, if you have Al-Farouq Aminu this week, you're probably going to win your week.
Yep.
And it's hard to find any of those Portland guys. Like I haven't watched hardly any Portland. Have you been watching any Portland this year?
Yes, I've been watching a little bit of Portland, and I will be watching a little bit of Portland in the future. Why not? They're this kind of the same team, and then they added a couple of bench pieces, and they're just they're a lot of their guys are what they are, and so I mean they're a really easy team to figure out for fantasy because we've seen this group kind of together for the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, like fantasy wise, I think our podcast when we did the team preview lasted about, I want to say 7 to 8 minutes, because it was like there's nothing else to talk. There's nothing to talk about. All these guys are the same guys they've always been, and that's why I haven't been watching them. They're just kind of a boring team. It is good to see that Nurkic has been given a good amount of playing time and has done well in that playing time. So I think that's something going into the season. That was our biggest question there, I think, with Nurkic, and then who else was going to play on this team. And, we have our answer. It's going to be Evan Turner and Al-Farouq Aminu, and they're going to just do Al-Farouq Aminu and Evan Turner things. Very disappointing in stuff. Seth Curry, who, even though he does play about 15, 16 minutes a night, like not doing a whole lot.
Yeah, no, he just isn't quite right, I don't think, and I don't know that he ever gets back to where he was.
Yeah, he probably doesn't, and that's that's really sad. I would feel bad that like after that one brief stint where he was actually really, really good for just coming off the bench and jacking threes and hitting them all, looking like actually looking like a little bit of Steph Curry. Steph Curry. There it is. Wow, that's hard to say like 5 times. Seth Curry. Yeah, I feel bad. I think he should. He might recover. He might have another good year here, but it's probably not going to be this year. I do actually want to talk about one more guy who does do similar things as Seth Curry, except for never get a steal. But I do want to shout out Dougie McBuckets Dermott for getting his first block probably of his entire career against the Lakers. He is averaging 0.1 blocks a game and 0.3 steals a game on the season. That's insane. He's just the king of 0-0 counting stats, and actually has put up a handful of 0 assists, 0 rebounds. Like that is what he is known for. He comes in and shoots threes and he scores, but he is playing a lot more minutes with Oladipo out. Are you streaming Doug McDermott over your normal 3-point scoring players? Is there any reason to like Doug McDermott better than anyone else?
No.
That's the quick and short answer. The answer is no, because he doesn't do anything else, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's 1,000 guys you'd rather have. Wayne Ellington. I mean, give me anybody. Like, here's the other way to look at it too. Like, when I'm streaming, especially in standard leagues, I'm looking for somebody who, even if it's just like a 3-point guy. When we talked about Kyle Korver a little bit ago, like, what makes him less attractive is like you're not getting much of anything else. You're gonna get through 3-pointers and that's it. Whereas like you see guys like Wayne Ellington, like okay, he hits more 3-pointers a game. Number one, number two, like he has a game. He just had 7 rebounds against the Jazz the other night. He can get you a steal. He can get you a block like every once in a while. Like those guys, McDermott, you just mentioned it. He never very rarely ever gets a steal or a block ever.
Yeah.
And so there's no upside to that pick, none whatsoever.
Pretty much 0. He's just one of the worst fantasy players. Even if he's not playing starters minutes, but if he was, still would be one of the worst fantasy players. Like it just doesn't translate. He just doesn't do anything other than come in, and shoot threes. Even like Kyle Korver always did a little bit extra. He was getting like a steal a game, half a block. He was shooting a good percentage. He'd get you like 3 assists, sometimes 4, and you're like, secretly Kyle Korver was always like one of the best in his prime, like one of the best late round picks. And Doug McDermott, even in the deepest leagues, is hard to roster Doug McDermott in any sized league. I do want to talk about one more player, Tyler. His name is Nerlens Noel. He's been playing more minutes all of a sudden, getting steals and blocks, getting rebounds, even scoring. What should I make of this kind of like mini Nerlens Noel 15, 20 minute a night resurgence?
Well, we know that Nerlens can always get good steals and block numbers, even in limited minutes. So, I mean, I don't know that any of this is super surprising.
I'm surprised he's playing.
Oh, I'm not. I mean, I think Nerlens can play. It's just the fact that he's kind of, I don't know the word, an interesting guy. I mean, he had the hot dog thing, and that was kind of what got him in trouble in Dallas. He was just a little bit rebellious, and we saw kind of the same thing in Philly. And I'm not surprised though that he's getting minutes. Like, he's always shown the ability to be a decent rim protector and to kind of create some havoc, but he's nothing for fantasy really. I mean, sure, if you want to stream him for steals and blocks, great. But I mean, 4.5 rebounds and 4.5 points with 0 assists. I mean, you're not loving that.
Yeah, that's like a final day of the week. I'm desperate for an extra block or so. Why the hell not? Type of stream. I wouldn't like load up on Noel throughout the entire week.
And in a maximum 20 minutes, right? I mean, he did play 26 minutes in one game, but I'm pretty sure Steven Adams didn't play that night. I mean, other than that, he's played a maximum of 20 minutes. So, I mean, how many steals and blocks can you really get in 20 minutes? Not that many.
Yeah, not that many. Surprisingly, he gets as many as he does in those limited minutes. So shout out to Nerlens Noel, but yeah, not recommended either for just even holding briefly. I wouldn't do that. I think that is about like those are the kind of major players. We talked about a lot of these other guys. People still picking up Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Yeah, we already told you to do that. Go do that. You should own him on your team. Like he is going to be pretty good. But other than that, like I think those are the kind of the bigger names, or at least the most widely picked up players. I always kind of find it interesting that Yahoo does how many times a player got traded on a certain day. So like you can sort by ads and drops, but you can also sort by trades. And here are the top traded people, and there might be some. I've always wondered if there's something to some information to pull out of this, or if it's just random noise, right? Like Brandon Ingram is the number one by quite a bit, 47 trades yesterday, and 27 trades today. So it's like everyone's moving Brandon Ingram. So if you own Brandon Ingram, should you think about moving him? Like I'm always wondering if there's like maybe like a little extra hint to be like, this is what people are interested in. So you get like some knowledge by the numbers of the masses. Do you think there's anything to that, or you think it's just random noise?
A little bit of both, maybe, in this sense that obviously, if I mean, it's just a stat. Now, does the stat mean anything? Well, it obviously means people are interested in Brandon Ingram, and Brandon Ingram is a guy I'll consistently say seems to have more name value or whatever you want to call it than actual value to me. Like I always hear people be like shouting out Brandon Ingram that they're really into this guy and they're going to keep holding him on their team, and they think he's a top 75 player, and I'm like, well, okay, well, I mean, what's Brandon Ingram really doing? He's getting you 4 rebounds a game, 2 assists, 0.7 steals, 0.7 blocks, 15 points. Like, it's all fine, but there's nothing to get excited about here. And I mean, he's not even a top 100 player, if you ask me. He's just not.
No, I think the statistic gods out there would 100% back you up on that. In fact, he's not even a top 200 player when it comes to 9Cat Roto. Like, he's way the hell down there. And like, there were some flashes, especially late last year, where it looked like he might have figured something out, started putting it together. Could have been like a 1-1-1 guy. He's got all of the genetic tools. Like, he's just long and quick and has, pretty decent athleticism. But this season, he's just kind of crap in the bed, playing behind LeBron, just totally tanking your free throws if you own him. And just not, I mean, he's still like a half a block, half a steal, half a three guy. He's just not doing anything else. Like, it just doesn't feel like he's improved. Like, he's improved his game at all. And playing behind LeBron, you're not going to improve your game. You're just not. Like, you're going to look better because LeBron is on your team, and you might play a little better because LeBron's on your team. But you're not going to develop your own skills having to have LeBron hold the ball for the entire time.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously he's a bad free throw shooter, which is kind of killing his value in a lot of ways. Even if you take out free throws, though, so you take out turnovers, you take out free throws, you look at that value, he is the 138th ranked player on the season in per game value.
It's really bad.
A guy you just talked about, Nerlens Noel, is ranked ahead of him.
That's miserable. Here, I'm going to take out free throw. I'm going to take out turnover, just like you said. Etuan Moore. Much better. Like, who else is down here at the bottom here? Oh my gosh, there's some really bad. Noah Vonleh, better. Wiggins, who is terrible, better. JaMychal Green, better. If you get rid of free throw and you get rid of turnover, and the JaMychal Green is actually really hurt by getting rid of those two stats, and still better than Brandon Ingram. It's pretty bad. It's pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, so I mean, if you own a Brandon Ingram, and you can trade Brandon Ingram
for someone, that's great. Like, if you can get that name value to give you value back, you should be doing that right now.
Well, and people get sucked into potential too. I think, like, this guy was a number 2 pick, or this guy was a number 5 pick. He's gonna be good. He's gonna be amazing. Brandon Ingram also has an underrated Basketball Reference nickname. Are you ready for this?
Is it the praying mantis?
No, I wish it was. So, Humble Beast is the second one.
That's terrible.
But this one, even better, because I don't think it makes any sense. He's the tiny dog.
The tiny dog.
Which, he's tiny in the sense that he weighs like 8 pounds, but
yeah, he's at like 128, I think. It's like about 128 pounds.
But I don't get it, because he's like 6'10". So how can you be the
tiny dog?
How can you be the tiny dog if you're 6'10"?
Maybe everyone just calls him tiny because he's so thin. And they're like, "You're a tiny dog," and they became the tiny dog. Maybe that's how it worked.
I guess it's something.
That's absolutely terrible. That's a terrible nickname, and Brandon Ingram should feel terrible by being a terrible fantasy basketball player with his terrible nickname. And I think that's it for our waiver wire week 8 here. Everybody, thank you for listening. And if you've got feedback for the show, you have recommendations for some of the stuff we want to talk about, hit us up on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at WatchTheBoxes. You can find Tyler at Tyler P. Watts. He's always writing something either about the Dallas Mavericks or more fantasy relevant stuff. So you got to check him out. You got to definitely follow him. Follow me if you want. That's fine. But Tyler's got all the good content. So go follow him, Tyler P. Watts. And if you really want to support the show, or if you're interested in our mid-season fantasy basketball draft, where we are going to do a reboot on the season with our Patreon subscribers, you will have to join our Patreon. You'll have to become a subscriber if you want into that league. Go check out patreon.com/watchingtheboxes for more details on that. That is it for tonight, and we will catch you soon.